Hello and welcome back to another Wednesday night live stream, guys. I hope you are all settled in for an interesting evening. We've got our senior pastors, Keith and Peka, here with us, and we're going to do a bit of a Q&A. So I really encourage you guys to actually put down some questions that you would like to ask Keith and Peka about down in the comments, and easy ones, because, well, it's Keith. It would be really great if you guys participated. Me and Brooke have actually got a few questions lined up, but before we get stuck into that, we've got a few announcements. So
guys, don't forget to just like and share the stream as well, just to get it out to all your friends on Facebook. Encourage them to watch and join along as well. And also just a reminder that we have a church service at the golf club on the 8th of November. So if you're wanting to come to that, just send an email to info@IgniteLiveChurch.com, or if the email isn't working, just message Bowen on Facebook and he'll put your name down for that as well.
Yep. We've got our 30-day marriage challenge that is still going on. If you haven't started it yet, I really encourage you guys to. It's on Ignited Marriages on Facebook. There's a link on our page if you guys are interested. I just want to say a massive hello to Gary, Darren, Glennis. Who else have we got here? Got quite a few people on, and welcome, guys. I hope you're all having a good evening. What else have we got to announce? Also,
if you may have heard already about our Grow programs, courses online, and also Grow 1 is now available online. So if you're wanting to learn more about God, or if you're just starting out in your faith, that would be a great course for you to do. So you can find that online on our website.
Yep, awesome. We've pretty much mentioned everything. So, hey Keith, hey Peka, how are you going?
Good evening. Hey girls.
It's so nice that you guys could come here to our talk show.
Our pleasure.
I feel quite cool right now. So shall we just get started, I guess? There's nothing. Do you want to pray before? How you're vibing life, Keith?
We might pray if the questions get too tricky. But,
okay. Well, Brooke, do you want to hit us up with the first question?
So let's have a look. So one of the first questions we had was, what are some key points to bringing up a Christian household?
Well, we went straight to it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Didn't waste any time.
I reckon, Peka, you start that one.
We purposed long before we ever had children that we would have a Christian family, okay? And then we tried to have family, and we didn't have kids for 8 years. We tried for 8 years to conceive, and we were unable to have children. So in that time, we went through all the ideas of what we could do, and then we just gave up. When we did fall pregnant and have children, all of the things that we had talked about, we started to put into practice. Probably myself a little bit more than Keith, because Keith was working most of the time. So one of the things that we had discussed before we ever had children was that I would not work, and that I would give up working and I would become a homestay mum, and I would not go back to work until my youngest child was at least 10, 11, 12 years old. And that's a decision I made. I don't think that everybody should do that. I just, that's what God spoke to me about.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I put in place in our household was that God was first in everything, and that's how we lived. Keith and I talked about God. We never lied to our children about where we came from. We told them that there were times when we didn't know God and that we actually did drugs and stuff like that. We were just very, very honest with them. And always, in every area of our life, to the best of our ability, we told our children that God was the very, very best thing that ever happened to us, and will be the very, very best thing that will ever happen to them.
Probably another thing too is because Peka and I didn't necessarily, we didn't come from families of faith, and we weren't sure about what it meant to bring up children in the ways of God. So we tried to hang out with people who we saw had really good families. So we learned
really good
practices that that other people used, and so we learned that way.
I've got a question here from Darren Clark. It's to Keith. It says, when did you start losing your hair?
I started losing my
Thanks
hair
for that, Darren.
the day Karen was born because she made me pull it all out. No, I reckon, Darren, good one, mate. Probably 26, 27, something like that.
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
The closer I got to God, the more the hair fell out, I think.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Well, I've got an interesting question. Has there ever been a time in your guys' walk with God that you've wanted to turn away and kind of just give it all up?
I would say there's been some hard times, but I've never wanted to walk away from God. I have wanted to walk away from some of the, maybe the ministries that I was involved with when it got hard, but never wanted to walk away from God, no.
That's cool.
So on that, how do you stay positive through those tough situations?
Nice palm off there.
When we first got saved, we made a really, really definite line in the sand decision that our lives would always be for God and nobody else. We were either going to be full on, born again, into the Christian kingdom, do everything that God required of us, or we weren't. There was no shadow of turning in us.
Yeah.
So when really super tough times happen, probably for me, it's just God. So when I'm crying myself to sleep at night because the pain's too bad, and I've talked about this before, when I'm crying myself to sleep at night when I was going through the whole thing with the hips and that, and the pain was so bad and the painkillers weren't working, I would cry out to God. I'd put on worship music and I'd say things to God like, I can't do this without you. You're going to have to fix me or do something. And I would just go to Him. Probably my worst times when He wouldn't answer me the way that I'd want Him to. So I had several miscarriages before, like straight after Jerusalem, I had several miscarriages and I was so angry at God. I didn't run away from Him. I spent about nearly 12 months driving around the South Island with Keith and the children in the van, and we were living in a bus, and I was just so mad at God. It's not that I ran away from Him, I just vented it in something shocking.
Yeah.
And He spoke to me one day. I'd gone to a meeting, and He said to me, I'd gone to the meeting, to this leadership meeting, because it was a prophetic meeting for senior leaders and their wives, and I thought, oh, well, you know, I'll go and have a try at this. If He doesn't speak to me, I'm walking away, not from God, but from the Christian walk.
Yeah.
And how ridiculous is that statement? How can you not? I mean, it's just a silly thing. But I was just so mad at Him, and I was at this prophetic conferencey thing, and first night everybody else got prophesied over but me. You know, next morning everybody got prophesied over except me. And by the evening I'm like, what is this? So I went to bed that night, everybody had gotten prophesied over again. And the next morning I woke up really early and I went for a walk, and I was walking along the road and I heard this voice say to me, you know, I was saying, God, you need to show up because I've had enough. I can't take this. You need to show up. And He said, look, turn around and look. So I turned around and I looked, and I was walking along a lane on a country road, and the country road was this long, and He said, tell me what you see. And I see a road, I see a field, it's got lambs and it's got sheep in it. And He said, no, tell me what you see. And the weirdest thing happened. It was like I suddenly realised that I was standing in the shadow of a massive mountain. I couldn't see the mountain. I was looking down the road, saw the road, I saw the fences, I saw everything else around me, but I had no idea until I suddenly realised that I was standing in the shadow of a mountain. And God said, that's me. You have never ever walked this alone. Oh, I'm going to get all choked up. I have never ever been further from you. It's you who felt that I was further. I never ever left you. And that's it.
What?
Yeah. And I'll add something to that too. How do you remain positive? I think it's important that in the good times you develop spiritual practices. And one of the things that have been real key in my journey is just being thankful. It's funny, the other morning I woke up and I wasn't feeling too flash. I was feeling, you could say I was feeling down.
Yeah.
But, I got up and I just sat in the morning with my coffee and just started to reflect on the goodness of God. And just started to thank Him for all the good things in my life, which actually lifted my spirit. And, I felt fine. And I think that sometimes you will have downtime, sometimes you will have difficulties, and it's, you can't ignore those, but there are things and practices that if you bring them into your life through the good times, they will actually help you get through. And the other thing that I like is sense of humour. For me, everybody knows, I have a bit of a crazy, silly old sense of humour, but it actually is a way for me to deal with pressure.
Yeah.
And, have a laugh, don't get so serious about life. God gave us laughter. I mean, every time I feel like I need to have a bit more of a laugh, I take a look at Bowen. He's got tracksuit pants on tonight. Looks kind of funny. No. But you know what I mean? Maintain your sense of humour.
Well, if we want a bit of a laugh, Keith, what is the most embarrassing thing that has happened to you?
I've had a few of them. A few embarrassing things.
Should we ask Peka about you?
No, I think I was probably, Brooke and Kieran asked us this earlier on, and there's a number of them. Probably one of the funniest one that recently happened was when we were streaming, and they'd set me up with the leveler, and it was on, and I didn't realise it was on, but they'd connected it to the in-ears that Kieran and Izzy had when they were leading worship. So I went out to the toilet, not knowing that, I was hooked up acoustically, and they were trying to lead worship, and in their in-ears, they're hearing me go to the loo.
It's hard,
And,
it's hard to hear the voice of God when you've got somebody going to the unzipping their fly in your ears, hey?
When they told me, I had to go back and remind myself of what actually I did do in the toilet. But anyway, so that was kind of embarrassing. And the other one is recently again is when we did Kevin and Ebony's wedding, and at the end of it I said to you guys that I had thought I'd done a reasonable job. It was a very, very hot day, and at the end of it, when everybody had sort of moved on and they were getting the group photo, I realised that my fly had been down. So there you go, that's another one. All good.
Peka, do you have any embarrassing stories that you'd like to share, or no?
No.
Okay. We've actually got a few questions that have popped up on the comment section. So do you want to read one, Brookie?
Yeah, we've got one from Courtney. What would you say? What would you say is the most important thing to teach your children?
That's actually a really good one.
Yeah,
I'd like to know
good.
that. What's the most important thing to teach your children?
To love God.
To love God and that God loves them,
Yeah.
I think, and is incredibly important. And got to be very careful as parents that we don't get caught up in all the don'ts, but let them understand that God is an incredible, amazing being that really loves us and wants life to be great.
Yep. We've also got one from Hannah, also talking about the family. What is one of the hardest things when bringing up kids in the church, especially as leaders?
Oh, Hannah.
That is a interesting question.
I would say that the challenge about when you become a pastor and you lead is that your life becomes a fishbowl. And so people will look at you and they will examine your life, and they can be sometimes, that's fair enough. The Bible does say, that there's a higher standard required by the leaders, but I also think that sometimes it can be unkind on your children.
Yeah.
Because children are children, and there can be unfair expectations placed on your children, and that can be quite unfair. So what was the question to do with that?
What is the hardest thing?
So that is a really hard thing as a parent, and to help navigate your children through those challenges, and even in adult life that can be a challenge as well.
It's quite common for pastors, kids and things like that to be quite distant from the church, I guess, from seeing all the inside aspects of that. So as
that's very
parents
true.
and that leadership, what did you guys do to protect your kids from having that kind of view on the church?
So it's interesting because a lot of PK kids don't survive and a lot of them don't want to have anything to do with church. It's not uncommon. And some of them don't even want to have anything to do with God as a result of mum and dad being in ministry. I think one of the things that was really important for us, that when we were leading, is that we didn't let our children know the ins and outs of some of the difficulties and challenges that were going inside church life. Although that was quite hard, because both Jerusha and Kieran and Ezzy, were very sneaky little investigators, so they would always be trying to find out what was going on. But
I would
we
love
actively
to meet your
tried
kids.
to make sure
I feel
that
like I'd get along with
the
them.
kids did not become aware of some of the difficulties that might have been going on in the ministry.
Yeah.
No worries.
Just backtracking to what Courtney asked before about what is one of the most important things to teach your children with loving God. She said, how is the best way to teach them that? So loving God.
The issue with loving God is that we can teach children lessons, but this is something I've said before, and probably other people have said as well. Your children will do what you do. You can say whatever you like, you can teach them whatever you like, but if you're not loving God, and if you're not being an example of the joy that God has, then your children will not learn it. So the best thing is to actually enjoy God with your kids.
That's
have
really
fun.
good one.
Talk about creation and who God is and the wonder of who He is all the time. Every opportunity that you have as a parent to pass on to your child the love of God in your heart and the reasons why.
That's really good.
Do it. Do it.
Yeah, and I would add to that also is that, being honest with your kids, and, as parents, sometimes we blow it. Kieran knows. But,
I don't know, they're not my parents.
No,
You guys
that's
are
right.
Keith
But,
and
and, so,
Peka.
and honestly, it's kind of sometimes you've got to say sorry as a parent, that, hey, you blew it, you made a mistake. And that's a demonstration of love to them as well, I think, that, saying sorry.
Yeah, you've got good feedback from that question, which is good. So Tammy, aka David, has said, how have you dealt with those times when God seems more distant as church leaders?
Who wants it?
Yeah, well, that's sometimes, see, the Bible tells us that our relationship with God is a faith journey. So faith is this ability to see things when they perhaps don't yet exist. And faith is trusting God when you can't feel Him sometimes. And I got to say, there have been moments in my life where I've felt like He has abandoned us.
Yeah.
And that, circumstances have been so overwhelming. But by the grace of God, and I do actually tell you there is a grace available, that at those moments we've done a journey of learning how to trust Him when He seems far away. And that's where you exercise your faith muscle. And again, I go back to, in the good times, it is so important that you are developing a faith muscle in your life, to get you through those hard times. What are you laughing at, Kieran?
I just read a question that Brooke snuck in there. And I would actually like to know the answers to that too. And I think everybody else would is, who's your favourite child?
No, well, I do. I have
an answer for this.
I have 4 favourite children.
Absolutely, they're the most precious things.
Yeah,
that
but
we have.
get specific with us. I feel like Kieran could possibly be the number one.
Choice, A, B, C or D.
Yeah.
A, B, C, and D.
Yeah, A, B, C, D.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. You passed the
A, B, C,
test.
D.
All right.
So those people who are
ABC, D.
parenting, those people who are
I was
parenting,
never good at the alphabet. Sorry.
those people who are parenting, you need to understand that if you play favourites with your kids, you can damage them.
Yeah, very true.
And there are times where we have to teach our children that they have to be kind to one another, or one of them might be going through a tough time and they need to learn with us to gather around them and love on them. Because what happens is if you start to favouritize children, you can damage them. When they're really little, there's nothing worse than feeling like The prodigal son. Remember the prodigal son? I'm not talking about the one who disappeared and went off with his heritage. I'm talking about the one that stayed behind and lived in the riches of his father's house. And when his father welcomed the younger son back, he got angry. He got really angry. He'd been damaged because he thought that his father loved his brother more. And so it's really important for us to actually do, to the best of our ability, to love our children all the same.
Yeah, and I think it's a challenge for a father too, because all your children, like we've got, obviously, most of you know we've got 4 kids, and they're all quite different in different ways. And the challenge for me as a dad is to know how to connect with my kids, because they have different likes, they have different personalities. Maybe some are more like me and some are more like Peka. So it is a challenge. You actually have to be very mindful of developing and maintaining a relationship with all your kids. And
your grandkids.
Yeah, and your grandkids. So by the grace of God, again, I'd say we have pretty good relationships, on all sides. But you do, like I said, you've got to understand the uniqueness of them, and you've got to be able to be adaptable.
So it's me, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
Well, Ruth said it's her.
Jerusha
depends.
Hargrave said 100%
They are,
Jerusha.
every single one of them.
It depends
And our
on-
grandchildren are the best in our
I think it
hearts.
depends on the gifts they give you,
Yeah. Well, remember that time? No, just kidding. On that note of, knowing your children, for you guys, there's obviously the whole 5 love languages. Did you guys kind of sort of take notes with your kids? Like for Jerusha loves gifts, and Zach, your oldest child, he loves compliments. So did you guys kind of really invest in that part of knowing your kids that way and how they felt loved? Did that make any sense?
Yeah, it did. That was a good question.
That's one for you.
To the best of our ability, yes. There were times when we couldn't give lots of gifts because we didn't have lots of money, but gifts are not necessarily measured by the amount of money that you have. Sometimes it's seeing something that will really be pleasing to a child and grabbing it and popping it away. Sometimes it was making sure that you're having time to sit and talk with a child, or it might be, that you need to, I really must tell Zach he did a really, really good job. It's really important. Or like for Izzy to just remind him of what a great son that he is, and how hard he's worked and how proud we are of him. And with Kieran, the whole idea of the absolute beautifulness of who she is as a person. So, these things you learn to do better, but you will always make mistakes. There is no way that you can have children and go through life and go through things that happen and to get everything perfectly right, because it's absolutely impossible. And one of the best things that you can learn to do is tell your kids, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah. On that sort of apologising thing, this is more coming into a leadership aspect. Has there been times in church where you've had to apologise as a leader to your congregation, and was that hard? Sorry,
Kieran, you're my
just
daughter.
came to
That's a hard one. No, hey, yeah, well, yes. I mean, obviously people know, and there have been times when we've had to try and, say, hey, we got that one wrong, and apologise for it. So yes,
Yeah.
Is it easy? No, probably not. But I mean, sometimes I've had to apologise to the board. I mean, I had to do one a few weeks ago. So, maybe it becomes easy because I make so many mistakes. I don't know.
Can I say something then?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know Keith is my husband, and I know that I love him and I'm in love with him. But even if I wasn't his wife, and even if I wasn't in love with him, and even if I didn't love him, I'm telling you, he's one of the best leaders that I know. Keith taught me how to deal with confrontation. Like most people think, Peka's lovey-dovey, she's no sweat. I have always had in my life a great difficulty with dealing with confrontation. I'd rather run 100 miles. I'd rather you take every single cent in my account than actually cause people pain or confront something. And Keith taught me a very important lesson. The very first thing that you do when you're wanting to deal with situations with people, you just say to them, look, if I have in any way offended you,
Yeah.
I may have done it, and I don't know that I've done it, and sometimes I've done it knowing I've done it. I just need to tell you that I need to ask you for your forgiveness, and I'm really sorry about that. Because the best way to start a conversation when you're trying to confront something is on an even level, and the even level is extending forgiveness to one another. And Keith taught me that, and it's done me well for at least the last 10 years, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
His
Well
head
done,
is swelling
darling.
right
And
now.
I've just got to say, I've just got to promote my Thursday Thoughts. Read tomorrow's Thursday Thoughts, folks. It's good.
Some self-promotion, that's good.
Yeah,
So
I'm
we've
still
got
dealing
another
with
question.
So I
self-promotion.
say that with great... I'm not trying to pump him
Yeah.
up. I'm telling you, he's amazing.
Well, it's working because he's feeling pretty confident right now.
He's laid back. What is the hardest thing you each have had to deal with as leaders?
That's a hard one. Or something difficult. That,
I think, I mean, there's a lot of hard things, you know. You have, you know, friends, you know, we've had friends that have died at churches we've been involved with. That's very, very hard. You know, when, you know, you've got to bring some kind of positive
yeah.
thing about such tragedies. That's very, very hard and very, very difficult. Personally, it's been challenging for me to deal with what I would view as betrayals.
Yeah.
You know, when people close to us or close to me, you know, have, you know, from my point of view, been, you know, betrayed confidence, betrayed friendship, stuff like that. So, yeah, they're hard. But the cool thing is, if you do things God's way, you grow out of that experience, and, you know, it helps you become a better person.
Yeah, that's good. What about you, Peka? What do you think?
Probably the most difficult things, it's always been the same thing. You know, we are called by God to pray prayers of faith.
Yeah.
So when I'm praying for somebody to be healed and they've got cancer and they've been given a terminal diagnosis, when I pray in faith.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm called by God to pray in faith. And there's no point praying if you're not really believing it. That's how my mind thinks. So, you know, like I've had several very close friends pass away, and when they pass away, it's like my heart gets ripped out of my chest. It's terrible.
Very true, very true.
But then I have to understand, and I tell people this stuff all the time. See, it's very easy to become blasé about the Word of God. It's very easy to go to somebody and say, oh, this is the will of God, you know, and they really don't need to hear that.
Yeah.
What they need to hear is that I am so sad that this has happened.
Yeah.
And in your heart of hearts, you're thinking to yourself, where are you in this, God? I can tell you where God is. He's standing right beside you and the person who's going through the loss, and he's holding you as close as he can while you're trying to push him away. And those are the times probably that I find most difficult.
Yeah. No, that was really good.
Yeah, that's good. We've got a little question here. What are the top 3 things? Oh, what are 3 of your favourite things about being the senior pastors of IgniteLive? What are some joys that come from it? I feel like we've been tackling a lot
I've got
of
one.
difficult
questions.
Yeah.
It is my absolute joy that I get to lead some of the most amazing men and women of God in this life that we're leading and reaching out into the world, not just into our community, but into our nation and into the whole world. I feel so privileged to be able to work with some of the best people in the world, because you guys out there, you don't understand what a joy you are. You are an absolute joy. Watching you grow and applying God to your lives and becoming these most amazing people, that's what drives me on.
Yeah, I got to say, from my view, it's the relationships that we've developed over the years. You know, like we came, you know, for an example, with Yarrawonga, we came from, you know, another country. on a journey of not really know what, ended up here. And, one of the great joys is the really fantastic relationships that we have developed with so many people. And that, our relationship is not kind of built around this is church. It's built around these people become part of our family, part of our life. I mean, I wind Bowen up heaps, but, it's a joy that he's part of our family. The guys are on our leadership team. Last night, it was just so beautiful, so fantastic to just have dinner, and celebrate all the people who work so hard and the volunteers. That was a real joy and that was a real pleasure.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would have added to it is watching people grow.
Yeah, that's really
like
big
having
one, I
the
reckon.
opportunity to bring influence into people's lives and see them, grab a hold and become more and more of these incredible people God's designed them to be.
You guys are very great leaders as well, so...
Stop it, you suck up. You guys are all right.
Brooke, there's $10.
No,
in
you
the
guys
plate,
are
mate.
pretty
It's
good, I won't lie.
So we've got a question from Penelope. What's your top ways to stay happy in your marriage? Is there any secrets? And what do you try to do or try never to do?
And
Yeah,
try
as long
keep
as
it
Peka-
clean, you guys.
Yeah.
Keep it
as
clean.
long as Peka keeps doing what I ask. No. I think just appreciating all the good things that the person you're married to does for you, and I don't know, doing the hard yards together and coming out the other end and,
Secret number 1.
Oh, here we go.
No. Don't expect more from your husband or wife than you're willing to give yourself.
Wait.
Unfair.
Wow.
It's unfair. If you expect forgiveness, then you better learn to extend it yourself. If you expect honour and respect, then you should be giving it yourself.
Yeah, it's funny too, a while back, I think, there's a lot of men that get to a particular age and they can start to become dissatisfied with their wife, and, there are men who do a runner and all of that and go and trade him for a younger model or whatever, but, the thing for me is that I've learnt over the years is to see how much my wife has put her life on the line for her kids.
Yeah.
And, ladies put their bodies on the line for their children. And, the fact that, appreciating the fact that, what a lady does for us and for our families and for their children, to me is outstanding. So, that's one of the reasons why it makes me love my wife more without getting too, that should get me in the good books, that one though. But.
Yeah. One thing to kind of add on that, on what you guys were saying, is for those of you that are looking for a significant other or a partner, something I always tell people is you be the kind of partner or wife or husband that you want that person to be. So if you want somebody who is faithful, God-fearing and loving, you be God-fearing and loving. I feel like sometimes, it's so easy for us to put an expectation on that other person to be, the completing, but, only God will complete you, hey?
Amen. I love it when you say back what I teach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
What else? You're good in
We had one before. What are you most excited for in 2021?
Yeah, that's a good one to finish up on, I think.
Well, obviously, I'm really excited about the possibilities that God is putting together for us as a church, and the personal visions that are coming out of people's lives that are starting to talk about what they might think God is saying to them, and what is possible for us as a church. I think we're in a fantastic time of opportunity. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I really feel that there's a time of, I think, harvest coming, and you've been preaching about it a lot, so that's something to look forward to. Yeah.
I am really excited because I've just started writing again, but not writing songs. So I've been writing the Grow 1, Grow 2 and Grow 3 that I'm in the middle of doing with help from Nicole. So Nicole sends me stuff and I go through it and I process it and then I wait on God. I'm actually really, really enjoying it. And what I'm enjoying most about it is being able to take the Word of God and put it into such a format that people who are not Bible scholars can actually read about how God is. And I look at it and I think, oh, Father God, in Jesus' name, souls, Lord God. Let people come to know you in a way that will not just change who they are, but change everybody around them because of that great power. I love God. I just love his word. It blows my mind what he can do with it.
Yeah.
Well, I reckon that'll be the
Yep.
last question for tonight. If you liked tonight, just write a comment down.
Yep.
You know, if you'd like to do another one of those, or you know,
Yeah,
do
it
it
was.
more
I
often.
enjoyed it. It was really
Yeah.
nice actually getting to chat to you guys and getting to know you a little bit. Pastor Peka and Pastor Keith / Mum and Dad. It's really great that you guys came along and done that. So just a little note, guys, don't forget we've got church on Sunday. Make sure you guys come. And on that note, really, yeah. Oh, we've said all the other announcements, I believe. On that note, cheers, go have dinner.
Enjoy your night.
God bless you guys and see you on Sunday.